K-pop is huge. It's a global cultural and economic juggernaut, with K-pop fandom being the most passionate and organized in the world, bringing it to the world stage. Its impact on Korea is massive economically as well as culturally. In fact, Seoul promotes K-pop tours, themed cafes, and even K-pop museums. Idols set trends in clothing, hairstyles, and makeup. Being a K-pop fan is part of many Korean social identity. Students bond over these fandoms, and fan culture actually dominates youth culture. It also creates a huge increase of tourism and revenue in Korea. On Spotify alone, global K-pop streaming surged by 362% from 2018 to 2023, while the US seeing a 182% increase, as well as Southeast Asia experiencing an impressive 423% rise. BTS, one of the biggest stars to come out of K-pop, alone have sold over 50 million albums worldwide. BTS, Blackpink, TXT and Stray Kids, to name a few, have countless brand deals, allowing them to connect with young, passionate consumers, while K-pop idols themselves can build their identity as fashion and cultural icons. K-pop idols aren't just on music shows, they host variety shows, they star in dramas, and they're often seen in commercials. In Korea, the mainstream music scene is almost synonymous with K-pop. Their fans live, eat, and breathe K-pop. When people think of music in Korea, there's only one thing that comes to mind: K-pop. Now, K-pop's emergence began in the early 90s, although it can actually be traced back decades before. But it was in 1992 when the emergence of a band by the name of C-Tall and Boys marked a revolutionary moment in the history of K-pop. Their self-titled album became so successful that it paved the way for other songs of the same format. And by the late 90s, the first generation of idols like HOT and SES began to rise. They had fandoms, merchandise, and choreographed performances, which became the blueprint for modern idol culture. Second-gen groups such as Big Bang and Wonder Girls helped spread K-pop internationally. Wonder Girls even entered the US Billboard Hot 100 with the track Nobody in the year 2009. But then in 2012, everything would change when one song that dominated every single charts in every part of the world came out, and that song was Oppan Gangnam Style, the first K-pop song to hit 1 billion views on YouTube. And there was no escape from this song at this time. I remember it so well. It was everywhere, and to be fair, it is a banger. But crucially though, it's what put K-pop on the global map. A few years later, BTS would become the first K-pop group to win a Billboard award in 2017, but they would also go on to appear on American talk shows, set out stadiums worldwide, and built their own fan base known as the ARMY. They would eventually reach, for the first time in K-pop history, the number one on the Billboard Hot 100 multiple times with songs like Dynamite and Butter and Permission to Dance. By 2025, K-pop became a $1 billion industry. But with all their success, money, and global dominance, K-pop has a dark side to it, hidden in the shadows, that proves things aren't as clean-cut and friendly as the industry would want us to believe. Now these days, thanks to the likes of Spotify, selling singles is no way to make money. Most find it through selling merchandise and by touring. But that leaves room for potential exploitation of the artists themselves, because the artists have to tour constantly, with constant rehearsals and studio time to meet the demands of both the fans and the management companies that rule their lives. But to understand this, we must understand how the K-pop industry works. Behind the scenes, there are three companies which are known as the Big Three, who have complete control over the industry. There's SM Entertainment, who build the idol system as we know it today, which have intense training, polished performances, and the global expansion. They tend to use strong visuals, choreography, and produce large-scale performances. The next one is JYP Entertainment, and these guys are known for kind of the catchier pop music, girl group dominance, and expanding into global auditions, and have consistent success with girl groups. The third one is known as YG Entertainment, and these guys are known for more hip-hop influenced swag concepts and producing trend-setting groups with global impact. They are known for giving artists a bit more creative freedom and tend to dominate the global luxury brand deals. But crucially as well, all these companies work as representative agencies for their artists. They are responsible for recruiting, financing, training, and marketing new artists, as well as managing their musical activities and public relations. And the Big Three had dominant power over this industry for decades, up until the 2020s, when a new company called Hype shook things up, and BTS would turn Hype into a super agency, acquiring bands like 17s. Now every year, thousands of young Koreans audition for these agencies, some as young as 10 years of age, in the hopes of being part of the next K-pop band. They are seen for their potential, where overall talent isn't super important, because once accepted, they are trained. Those chosen will sign contracts that will dictate every aspect of their lives. They receive vocal training, dance training, acting and media training, and this can take years and years. Many go through evaluations and can be cut at any point if improvements aren't made fast enough. It's a tough, cruel world to work in, and only a fraction actually get to debut, and even the ones that do debut can still fail. K-pop's biggest success stories were built off the back of what is known as slave contracts, which tied its trainee stars into long exclusive deals with little control or financial reward. In 2009, Dongbing Shinki took its management company to court on the grounds that their 13-year contract was too long, too restrictive, and gave them almost none of the profits from their success. The court actually came down on their side, and the ruling promoted the Fair Trade Commission to issue a model contract to try and improve the deal artists were getting from their management companies. Another group called Rainbow that worked for 2 years with a management company called DSP shared their unhappiness about their pay. Now, the management company acknowledged that the pay wasn't great, but after the company recoups its costs, there is sometimes little left for the performers. Part of the problem here is that K-pop is expensive to produce. Groups are highly manufactured with teams of managers, choreographers, and wardrobe assistants, as well as years of singing lessons, dance training, accommodation, and living expenses. These costs can add up to hundreds of thousands of dollars and sometimes in the millions. Many K-pop groups often take years to even break even, and as a result do not receive a fair share of the profits from their songs until they pay off the debt they've incurred through their training. Despite pushback from the likes of the FTC of South Korea for better contracts, there's still stars that are working for these agencies. Now, on the surface, to many of us, K-pop stars seem great: money, fame, and women at your feet, having the power of God in a lot of ways, and having a real cultural impact in Korea. But with young teens groomed to perfection by these large agencies with the sole purpose of making profits of their investments, with kids signing their lives away, it's no wonder a lot of them suffer with poor mental health. And that's not including having to deal with the levels of fame that are so insane, and every aspect of their lives being scrutinized, and having no creative control on the projects they actually work on. These agencies see their stars not as people, but as possessions. The fan base themselves, although devoted, can be completely toxic if their stars don't meet their expectations. And that can turn to hate, which causes untold mental distress on the K-pop stars. Online abuse can be relentless. Another issue here, of course, is the sexualization and sexual exploitation of idols in K-pop, especially young girls who are pushed into sexualized concepts. JYP Somi was highly sexualized in media appearances, even though she was a minor. Stage outfits were often skimpy and being judged on their bodies rather than their performances. Women are kind of expected to balance between being strong and independent, but also being cute and submissive. Now, boys don't escape this either, with many of them being forced to perform topless, with their image often shaped around fantasy like a bad boy or a boyfriend to appeal to fans. Both men and women are expected to have perfect bodies that meet the standards in Korea. For women, that's very thin. If you aren't thin enough, you're expected to lose weight. If faces are deemed beautiful enough, they may be forced to get plastic surgery. Men are expected to have well-defined abs and upper muscular body, but also expected to have a young, cute face. Music videos have become more sexual over time also, especially on YouTube, as these management companies realize how popular and important social media is for growth of their brand. And as always, sex sells. With all of this, it's only natural that they're going to struggle with mental health, and this leads to multiple suicides from idols who simply couldn't cope with the demands of their fans, their labels, and their agencies. One such example is Sully, who was an outspoken feminist who endured years of online harassment and abuse, which eventually pushed her into depression and suicide. Being a feminist is a rarity in K-pop, but it does highlight something that is deeply wrong, which actually leads to real-world consequences. Somewhere along the way, people forget that these K-pop stars are in fact human. Now, there's also been a lot of scandals among K-pop stars. Back in July of this year, K-pop singer Taeyali, formerly known from the K-pop band NCT, was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison for rape. He, along with 2 accomplices, admitted to taking turns assaulting their victim, who was a Chinese tourist. Another example is K-pop star Seungri, now a former member of Big Bang, who was sentenced to 3 years in prison in a prostitution case, known as the Burning Sun Scandal. Seungri, whose real name is Lee Sung-hoon, was indicted in January 2020 on multiple charges, including arranging illegal sexual services for business investors from Taiwan, Japan, and Hong Kong from 2015 to 2016. He was also convicted of embezzling funds from a Seoul nightclub he ran and violating laws prohibiting overseas gambling by betting heavily on foreign casinos from 2013 to 2017. Jung-hoon Young, a singer-songwriter, gained fame through Superstar K4, illegally filmed sex videos of women without consent. He shared them in group chat rooms on what is known as Kakao Talk with other celebrities. Videos were then distributed as if they were jokes, objectifying and humiliating the women. Victims are often drunk, unconscious, or unaware of being filmed. He was arrested and sentenced to 6 years in prison, which was eventually reduced to 5. Fans felt betrayed since idols often promote clean images while secretly engaging in these crimes. But it highlights a huge issue in K-pop and also in Korea as a whole. And in 2018 alone, almost 6,800 cases of hidden camera crimes were reported to the Supreme Prosecutor's Office. Now, this scandal at the time shocked Korea, breaking the illusion of K-pop into a disturbing reality. It's clearly a bigger toxic issue that most of us are not aware of. K-pop brings a lot of joy in the world for a lot of people, but ironically it also highlights some of the issues that exist culturally in modern Korea today. Personally, to me at least, becoming a pop star seems like an absolute nightmare. If you were locked into 10, 15-year contracts with no control of your life, terrible pay, no personal freedoms, all while being loved and hated for any missteps, how well would you do? But that's it guys, thanks so much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe as always if you enjoyed the video. And let me know what you think as always in the comments down below. Me personally, I actually like K-pop music. I was not aware of how horrific it is. But that's it guys, thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Peace out.